I'm reminded, sir, of the famous song from the States about Old Man River, because I find myself on behalf of Kiwi industry, manufacturing, garden variety people seeking to claw their way out of Struggler's Gully imposed upon them by the last failed regime. So I adapted the chords, I've adapted the lyrics, and I am known as Old King Cole because that's Matua's role. There will be no energy resilience, there will be no electricity security without ongoing access to gas and coal. It is absurd. We bring from 10,000 kilometres away, in an area that could easily suffer major geopolitical uncertainty in Southeast Asia, whilst we have coal in strategically important levels 10 kilometres away from the coal-fired power stations in the Waikato. Why are we left with this bizarre situation? It's because a bunch of shallow, juvenile, virtue-signalling captives of the Paris Accord thought it was a good idea to condemn Kiwi investors, encourage the Aussie-owned banks to demonise an industry that employs a host of garden variety Kiwis. But no, we're not going to stand for that unless we do have a host of access points to generate more energy out of our own resources. We are condemning New Zealand to a greater level of vulnerability. Now, I know this particular approach is not something that makes our friends on the other side of the house, and of course I regard some of them as my friends, because I'm a politician about ideas. I'm a politician that's soft on the personality. Until you insult my leader or the party I belong to, then you will not strike a more robust foe than the matua standing before you. Now, on the question of these protesters, sadly they have left the human filth that they created in the coal cart. Sadly, they have stopped blighting the prospects of the men and women who earn an honest living out of working in the West Coast in the coal industry. They've come down out of coal cart that rhymes with night cart. They've made their way onto the ground, into the waiting hands of the police, and hopefully they will be served with appropriate punitive messages from the police in the vein of a trespass order and eventually hauled off to court. But the key point is, Mr. Speaker, why is it that a tiny minority of self-appointed moral apostles believe they have a greater role than we do in this House to actually save the planet? They don't think about 300 or 400 jobs or the $27,000 each day that was incurred by that legitimate business. No, they're possessed of a higher supercilious level of appreciation of the future in their own eyes, that the rest of us should perish and face ridiculously high energy costs while they sit aloft, should I say sat, in a coal cart, blighting, undermining, hobbling the ability of that business to continue to generate overseas money and look after their workforce. Now, of course, the Labor Party refused to back the oil and gas revocation ban legislation. They don't want coal, they don't want oil and gas. They never passed legislation to actually uphold and give a clear path for their great lake in the South Island, all full of gratuitous, virtue-signalling, vacuous rubbish. That's why we're facing the greatest energy crisis of my lifetime. That's why that side of the House is ruining sovereign risk, because they refuse to abide by common sense policies that will give Kiwis the resilience and the security, which in the absence of those two things, we're going to suffer a great deal of deindustrialisation. But wait, the fast track is about to be improved. That will enable us to fast track more resources, more minerals, hopefully more gas, and certainly more coal here checks out Matua King Cole.